Hello, hello, hello. This is Talking Manchester United, a United Stand podcast with myself, Paul Gardner, and joining me, as always, is Ash Burns. How are you, my friend?
Yes, not bad, mate. Not bad at all. Missing the football, the real football, anyway. Missing that, but yeah, glad that'll be back the weekend. What about yourself?
Yeah, I've kept myself busy over the weekend. Formula One's returned.
Oh yes,
So I was up at 5 o'clock in the morning on Sunday.
brutal. Brutal.
Dedication.
Yeah.
Up at 5 a.m. Watched all the build-up, watched the race. It wasn't as great as I thought it was going to be, but then again, it's Australia and that circuit isn't exactly known for exciting racing. But anyway, this isn't what we're talking about. So today we're going to do a preview of the Swansea game, which will be played on Saturday, 3 p.m, I think.
Yes.
There is no game to review, so I think I'll hand the floor to you then, Ash.
Yeah, thank you, Neil. Yeah, it's going to be, I think, a pretty interesting one. And we were just saying before we started recording that it should be, well, obviously me sort of taking the lead on this one. I was just saying I've been to more Swansea matches than I have United matches this season, embarrassingly. But yeah, my sort of local side, as you were, know pretty much about them. And it's going to be a pretty interesting game, I think. I'm assuming, well, it is, I'm assuming, it's at Old Trafford. So I think if we were going to the Liberty, I think I'd be approaching this in a different mindset just because of the form that Swansea have been in of late. I think they've done, some brilliant things since Carlos Carvajal took over. I think, first half of the season, they're struggling a lot. They had so many up and down, so many dodgy results. And I think Carvajal's come in and sort of brought a bit of stability with him. And he's picking... Yeah, he has. He has really steadied the ship. He's picking a fairly consistent 11 week in, week out, and he's using his best players in his best positions. And it's in a way it's kind of similar to Mourinho. What he's done, he is playing players that he trusts and who know can do a job for him, rather than some of the flair players. So it's an interesting comparison. You look at the two managers that way. Looking at form-wise for the Swans, obviously after Carvajal took over, they went on a brilliant run, beating Liverpool, beating Arsenal, and, really steadying the ship, as you said, and sort of coming back into life and sort of, getting a bit of fresh air in terms of the bottom three then. It's struggling for relegation. But, they haven't hit a great patch of form in the last sort of, month or so. 5 games, 1-1 at Leicester, then 1-0 win at Burnley, 4-1 loss to Brighton, which is, a bit of an interesting one, a 4-1 win against West Ham, and then most recently a 0-0 draw against Huddersfield. And what I will say is that I'm as I said before, I'm kind of glad that it's at Old Trafford. I think we can put the pressure on. I think they'll come nervous. And I think, looking at Swansea's home form of late, it's been very, very good. And I think they've won 4 home games on the trot, bar the draw, I think, in there.
Well, if you're looking across all competitions, their most recent defeat was at home to Spurs in the FA Cup.
That's it. 2-0, wasn't it?
3-0.
3-0, sorry. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So, it's going to be an interesting one. What do you make of their form?
Well, across all competitions, it's a bit mixed, I would say, recently. And I prefer to look at all competitions rather than just the Premier League, because sometimes there might be 2 or 3 cup games. You know what I mean? If you don't take those into account as well, you can get sort of like a false impression of what their form's like. They might have won the 3 Premier League games, but might have lost 2 cup games and drawn something else,
Yeah.
But looking at their current form, they're scoring goals, they're shipping goals, like you said, 4-1. They lost against Brighton. Let's not take anything away from Brighton. They're having a fantastic season, considering, who they are. Swansea did put 4 past West Ham, but let's not forget the fact that West Ham are in a bit of a free fall at the moment.
Yes.
A 0-0 draw away at Huddersfield, 3-0 loss against Tottenham. Those are 2 most recent games. So they haven't scored in their last couple of games. Swansea and Southampton was postponed last week, obviously, because of the snow, I would imagine. So based on their current form, and also another thing as well, I'm confident based on their form, but another reason I'm confident that we can beat them quite comfortably is if you look at the last 2 games we've played against them.
Yeah.
So if you go back to the beginning of the season, 17th of August, we played them in the Premier League at their ground. We won 4-0 against them at their ground. Obviously, this is when Paul Clement was in charge. And that was when Mkhitaryan was popping up with assists left, right, and the centre. Even Pogba got on the score sheet in that game. A little bit later than that, in the Carabao Cup, 24th of October, went to their ground again, beat them 2-0. So that, coupled with their current form, I'm fairly confident that we should brush them aside, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, I go into the game pretty confident. And, obviously we've got to look at where the threat is coming from the Swans. And one player in particular that I'm kind of glad isn't going to be playing is Jordan Ayew.
Yeah,
because from what I've watched I've watched quite a bit of the Swans this season, seeing him at the Liberty, and Jordan Ayew has been one of the players. I think he blows very hot and cold, but he's one of those players that can then turn on the game. I mean, one of the games I went to see was the game at Palace, and he come off the bench, scored the equaliser, or he was so close to getting another, 2 or 3 goals after that. And he just looks so dangerous coming on in a pressure situation, which Swansea could find themselves in. I think, if we pressure them, we get an early goal, we start, exerting our dominance on them. It could have been a pressure situation for someone like him to come on. So I'm kind of glad that he's suspended for the match, of course, being sent off against Huddersfield. So that's glad. I'm glad of that. Another player, I think, I've sort of drew up a little list of the danger men who I think we're going to have to look out for. You might be surprised with one or two, you might not. And number one on my list, surprisingly enough, is Lucas Fabianski. And I know that seems daft.
He's been their best player.
Yeah, and it sounds daft. Why would he be a danger man? Because there's a history of teams coming to Old Trafford and their goalkeepers turning into, prime Schmeichel. It happens more often than not. And I think Fabianski is one of those players. And certainly with the form that he's shown at times this season, on his day, he's absolutely superb. And he pulls off some ridiculous saves. So I think I really want to pressurize him. From a United point of view, I really want us to take the game to him. I don't want us to stand off and only have a pop-up goal, when we're looking like to score. I want to see us taking shots from distance. I want to see us pressuring the keeper right from the first minute, because I think he's one of those keepers that, if you keep pressuring him, he's going to break eventually, because his concentration levels are so fantastic. And at times, the way we've attacked this season, prolonged periods of pressure, followed by, one shot in 70 minutes or whatever it is. I think he's very, very good in those sorts of situations. So I think we need to pressure him. Another one I got down, Tammy Abrahams. I think he's done really well at times for Swansea this season. Very dynamic, strong, holds the ball up really, really well. And I think that's going to be one of the ways, I think, if Swansea are going to have any success, is they're going to have to rely on a player, if he plays, like Tammy Abrahams, get the ball into his feet and work the channels. Some other players who I had down is the likes of Nathan Dyer. I think on his day, he's a fantastic player. He's so quick. If he's going up against the likes of Smalling and Ashley Young down the right hand side, I think it's going to be dangerous. And then you look at other players who I happen to have a look at, like Wilfred Boney and Leroy Fer, 2 players who I think on their day are very good. However, they're out for the season. So I think that's a big plus for United as well. And apart from that, I think their defense is very, very fragile. At times, I think it's going to play into our hands quite a bit. As long as we play with, the tenacity that we can play with. We all know how, if we set up for the game, like we have done so many times this season, going through the motions and building up slow, I think it's going to be an even game. But I think if we attack them, we keep pressure, we keep the high tempo, I can't see us having any issues. But apart from the ones I mentioned, any other danger men do you think we need to look out for?
No, really not, to be honest. I've made a note of 3 players. 2 of them you've already mentioned, Jordan Ayew, Tammy Abraham. Jordan Ayew, I could see him, because he can play all across the front of the pitch.
Yeah.
And I could just see him playing on the left and giving Valencia a torrid time, because we all know that Valencia gives his opponent too much space in a one-on-one situation. So thankfully that's not going to happen, because that's part of Ayew's game, isn't it? To dribble, run at players, cutting in, taking shots
all the time. Yeah.
That's his game, and I fear whenever Valencia is faced with someone like that, it scares me, because we've seen it. I can't remember who it was against. I think it was against Sevilla, in Spain, when what's his name,
Correa.
Angel Correa.
Yeah, Correa.
he just gave Valencia a torrid time. I'm not saying that Jordan Ayew was on the same level as Correa, but he's a similar sort of player.
Yeah.
So yeah, thankfully he's not playing. He's only got 10 goals this season as a striker, although I don't think he's played primarily as a striker, though, has he?
He's played more sort of off the left. And yeah, he, as you said, he mixes it about. He plays some different positions in that front line. What I've seen of him a lot of this season has been more from the left. But yeah, 10 goals. And as I said, he's very hot and cold. Sometimes he'll play, sometimes he won't. And that's, it's. I think he's had a bit of a love-hate relationship with the management. Obviously, the change of management might have disrupted his run in the team. So yeah, but primarily I see him as a wide player then in that front three.
Well, in that case, then 10 goals isn't a bad return for a team, who weren't. Well, they are kind of still fighting in a relegation battle.
Yeah.
So yeah, and he's 10 goals, 2 assists, 39 appearances in all competitions. That's not a bad return, I suppose. So I suppose you could say, yeah, we're kind of glad that he's missing that game. Another player I had, again, someone else you mentioned, Tammy Abrahams, 7 goals and 1 assist in 32 appearances, but 12 of them. So that's not a bad return. He's only a young lad, but he's big. He's a target man, isn't he? He's a finisher. That's his game. And with the height as well, if Swansea, if he does play, if Swansea can get balls, into the box, which they will, he could be a real threat.
Yeah.
One other player that I've put down, and I've put potentially next to his name because he hasn't really featured much this season, which is much of a surprise. I'm not sure what's going on there, and that's Renato Sanchez.
Yeah.
You know more about him in Swansea. What's the story there? Why is he not?
Yeah,
in the Premier League?
He's been in and out of the team, many occasions this season. When he has been included in the team, he's not really shone. He's not really done anything. He has had a few injuries and been out of the team. I think luckily for us, although it could, it could work against us. He is going to be injured. He's just coming back off. I don't want to say a lengthy injury. He's had a knock for a while, and he's just coming back off the injury. I think he started training again this week, but I think it's going to come too soon for the United game. Is what I've heard anyway, and what I've read up on. So I don't think he'll be in the squad to play United. But yeah, it's a valid point. I mean, on his day, we know he's got the talent, we know he's got the ability, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if he fits Swansea's system, which is surprising for me because normally Swansea like to build from the back. They like to move the ball quickly, and for someone like that, you'd expect him to thrive in that sort of system. But he hasn't shown what he can do. I don't know if it's the pressure, the physicality, but saying that, he's a big, strong lad. He's shown he can cut it at a top level. You're looking at the Euros and that. So yeah, it's been a weird one. There's rumours that the likes of AC Milan and things like that are after him. I think there was another team, I can't remember who. So it'd be interesting to see what happens once his loan finishes. But I don't think he's, he'd be happy with his performances and his spell in English football. But there we are. At least I'm hoping he won't be a threat against us anyway.
Well, let's hope not. Yeah, those are the only 3 players that I've put as what could be considered a threat. I mean, on any given day, any player on any team can be a threat. Yeah. But when you look at the Swansea team, there's no one that, apart from maybe Jordan Ayew, that really stands out as someone who you're going to get nervous about when they've got the ball. Do you know what I mean?
I mean,
it picks those 2 or 3 players.
I mean, you only have to look at how solid our defense has been for most of the season as well. And it's faced a lot more formidable opponent than Swansea. No disrespect to them, that their forward line has been very hit and miss this season. I said the only other one would probably be Nathan Dyer, that I'd say, because he's so quick and he's so direct. I think if he comes up, if the defenders have got their back to goal and he starts running at them, he will get past them. But it all depends on who they play up front and what kind of system they bring to Old Trafford as well. But I can't see too much causing us problems. So looking at that, then looked at the danger men for the Swansea team.
Just before you jump on to the next bit,
yeah,
there is one other player I do want to mention.
What? And
I think his name is Kyle Norton.
Yeah, Kyle Norton.
Right back.
Yeah.
What do you think of him? Because when I'm looking at Swansea, one thing that you sort of do notice as sort of like a pattern in their play is that they do like to play most of their football up that right hand side.
Yeah.
And looking at Carl Norton's stats, he's got a very good pass success rate.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, is he that sort of right back that bombs up the wing and whips crosses in, or is he not? Because if he is that sort of player and he's got that higher pass success rate, and you've got Abraham in the middle, then the likes of Young or Shaw, Martial or Rashford, whoever's playing on that left-hand side might have their work cut out for them.
Yeah. I mean, I've got some friends actually who are massive Swansea fans. One replied to the tweet, and he is he is probably the biggest hater, if I can use that as a word, of Carl Norton in the entire world.
Oh, really?
He questions every single decision he makes and questions, why on earth he became a professional footballer. But I'll be honest, from what I've seen of Swansea, he is, again, it sort of typifies his whole Swansea squad. He blows hot and cold. I mean, some days he'll be absolutely atrocious, and yes, he'll get a decent pass completion ratio because they do like to, as I said, they do like to play out of the back a lot. So a lot of the passes will go between the defenders before they find, a deep line midfielder who come and collect the ball to move it forward. And other days he'll be absolutely fantastic, and he'll be bombing down the right hand side, cutting out, attacks from the opposition. But for me, I think coming up against, well, it depends who we play on the left-hand side. If you're looking at Alexis Sanchez, the likes of Martial and Rashford, I think he's in for a very, very tough afternoon. I don't rate him that highly. As I said, he blows cold more than he does hot. So I don't see it being too much of a problem. But then again, he could turn up. But no, not for me. I think he's going to have a very, very tough afternoon against whoever plays on the left.
Okay, well, let's forget about Carl Norton then.
So yeah, looked at the Swansea squad, picked out the danger men. How do you see us then approaching this game? Do you think we're going to stick with what we saw against the likes of Sevilla and Brighton? Do you think we're going to stick with the same system, the same 11?
Very similar.
Yeah.
In terms of personnel, I would hope. When you look at the way Swansea play, it's quite known. You just got to look at the amount of goals they have conceded. That teams like to attack them.
Yeah,
their defense isn't great. We know that. So I would expect us to go at them. We say this every week with Man United. We expect to go at teams.
Yeah,
but against Swansea, I just think it's something we really should do.
Yeah.
It's not one of those games really, because Mourinho likes to analyze the opposition, how they set up and where their strengths are and things like that, and uses that to come up with the tactic for his team.
Yeah,
that's what he does. A lot of managers do. He's not the only one. You get some managers that got their way, their setup, and they'll play like that every week in, week out. Louis van Gaal, for example. But with Mourinho, he adapts to the situation. Depending on, like we see it against teams like Chelsea, against Liverpool, will sort of go for their weakness. Most recently against Liverpool, Mourinho said that he knows they've got a weakness and that he wants to exploit it. And then what did we do? All of our attacks down that left-hand side against their right back, and Rashford got 2 goals in the first 30 minutes. So if we can do that, then we'll be absolutely fine. And I just think this game is just going to be a case of let's just go for it, because Swansea don't play one favoured formation. Over the course of the season, they've played several, and I've looked back at a lot of their games, a lot of their lineups and formations. They play 4-3-3, 3-5-2, 5-4-1, 4-3-1-2. Those are the 4 main formations they've played, and the best, their most successful formations are 5-4-1, which you would think quite defensive. 5 at the back, 4 in the midfield. That's setting up to camp.
Yeah,
and they've only lost 1 game playing that formation, so I can see them doing that. And if they do that, that's just going to invite us to put a lot of pressure on them.
Yeah.
So I would like to see us set up with a strong team, an attacking formation, and I've gone 4-3-3. Do you want to do yours first?
Yeah, I don't mind. Well, being as looking at team news and looking at how we've set up in the last couple of games, the only one I'm looking at is McTominay, because if I've heard correctly, he picked up a knock, didn't he? And he could be injured.
I'm not sure, but I haven't put him in my team anyway.
Oh, there we are. I was going to say, because he has, he's a doubt, I think, for the game at the weekend. So I fully expect, the man to come back into the team, which is Marwan Fellaini.
Okay, maybe not then.
I don't know. So yeah, my 11, I've gone with David De Gea in goal, obviously. I've gone with Valencia at right back, Ashley Young at left back. I think those two are pretty much nailed on to start for us now. In the middle, I've gone with Eric Bailly, and I'm assuming he's probably going to start Chris Smalling, even though I think Rojo is he around, fitness now again. He signed a new contract with the club. I'd like to see him get some minutes if possible, because, recent times I think he's done really, really well. In the middle, obviously Nemanja Matic is going to be there, provide, fitness being all well. And then I'd like to see him alongside Pogba, but I really don't know what he'd do. He might chuck Fellaini in there as well. He might keep Pogba on the bench. I'm not sure. But in a game like this, Swansea at home, they're struggling. Defensively, they're vulnerable. For me, you play your most creative players and you put Paul Pogba in the side. Then I've gone Lukaku up top, obviously, in the number 9. And I've put...
Just rewind slightly. What formation have you gone with?
For sort of like a 4... Hang on. Don't even know. Yeah, like a 4. Yeah, sorry, 4-2-3-1.
Okay, so who have you got in the 2?
Into Matic and Pogba.
Right. Okay.
That's what I'll do. And then I've got Lukaku up top. I've got Sanchez. I'm assuming he'll play on the left. I've got Mata in the hole at number 10, which I'd like to see. And then it's a toss-up, really, isn't it, between Rashford and Martial, who he goes for. I think he'll probably play Rashford, but I think Martial is starting tomorrow alongside Pogba for France against Russia. So you don't know what will happen with fitness, if he picks up a knock, if he plays really well. But for now, I'll go with Marcus Rashford. That's what I think he'll do.
Fair enough. I've gone slightly different.
Yeah.
I'm thinking at home against Swansea, play to our strengths.
Yeah.
I've gone 4-3-3, a narrow 4-3-3.
Yeah.
Goalkeeper, obviously David De Gea. Back 4 of Valencia, Bailly, Smalling, and Young.
Yeah.
In the midfield trio of Matic, Pogba, and a player who's now back from injury, Ander Herrera.
Ooh.
Because he's going to be raring to go.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I'm pretty sure I've seen something on MUTV a few days back. I think he was saying that he was fit, ready for the Sevilla game, the second leg, but not quite. And so he said he was a bit disappointed not to be able to play in that game, but he's fit and ready now. So I fully expect him to step into that midfield. And if we can have a midfield trio of Pogba, Herrera, Matic, I'd love that.
Yeah.
And then the front 3, obviously Lukaku up top. I've gone Rashford on the left, Mata on the right. So I've not even included Sanchez in there.
Okay.
Now, the reason I've put Pogba in, we know he's been off form recently. We know that his attitude hasn't been there completely. But when you've got someone like that in the squad, knowing what he's capable of, at some point it's going to click again.
Yeah.
And I think against Swansea, with their current form, their overall form across the season, the way that they concede so many goals, the fact that we've put so many goals past them already this season, I want to see Pogba put back in there in a midfield 3 with Matic and Herrera. Because Matic is hitting a bit of form again recently.
Yeah.
Herrera, we know, is Herrera. We know what he's capable of. We don't really have a right winger.
No.
But when Mata does play, he's very good at sort of dropping and filling that void between the midfield and the attack and picking up and creating something.
Yeah.
Picking the ball up and bringing it forward and creating something, finding a good pass. So I think we need to have him on the pitch. So put him out on the right. He works well with Herrera as well. When those two play together, they've always got a bit of chemistry between them. So if you've got Herrera on the right-hand side of that midfield 3, with Mata in front of him, I think that could work well. Rashford has played well in his last couple of games that he's played. I'd like to keep him on the left. Whenever Sanchez and Pogba play together, for some reason it just doesn't work.
No. There's
this whole idea that Sanchez gets in his way. I'm not buying that. So I've gone with Rashford. Lukaku, well, he speaks for himself. He's been on scintillating form recently. Just his passion and his drive. We need that on the pitch. That's my lineup.
I like it. So no place in the starting 11 for England hero Jesse Lingard.
No. But just think what the bench is going to look like.
Yeah.
It's going to have Sanchez, Lingard, Martial.
Yeah.
They're all going to be on the bench.
Yeah. If we need them. Go on then. Prediction. What's the score going to be?
I've gone 3-0.
Ooh, okay. I like it. I like the confidence. Now, I always overestimate on these. Every game I do it. So I'm going to go with, I'll go with 2-1 to United. I don't know why. I think it all depends on how Swansea approach the game as well. I think if we play how we should play, how we should be looking at a game like this, and I'm glad you mentioned that sort of, Mourinho setting up for particular opponents. Again, no disrespect, but a team like Swansea, I think we shouldn't need to set up a certain way. I think we should be playing our game of football, not really looking at them and looking to take them out earlier.
That's why I said play to our strengths.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Put Pogba in the midfield three.
Yeah.
Matt on the right to link up the play.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Completely reflected. Good. So it's a win then. So look forward to the review of a 1-1 draw. Marvellous.
I'll take it over to
we shall indeed. As usual, tweet goes out, recording the podcast. What would you like us to discuss? Top of the shop, a friend of mine, Ewan Ingram. Thank you, Mr. Tadpole. If Swansea embarrass United, how annoyed could I get Ash Boyer before he uses explicit language? If we do get embarrassed by Swansea, you will be the first to feel my wrath. I'll say that. Okay, then. So at Connor Salmon. Go on.
Have you ever sworn on this podcast?
Yeah, quite a few times.
Oh, have you? Fair enough.
Yeah.
I did see that tweet, and I thought to myself, has Ash actually ever swore on this podcast? Yeah.
And it's really because those who know me in real life know I swear far too much. Yeah. So to keep it under control on this is very, very good. At Connor Salmon _fan, who would the lad? This is a really good question as well, and I've been thinking about this a bit because I read this before. Who would the lads? I'm assuming he means us. Rather stay if the other goes. So Pogba or Mourinho. So who would you rather? If one had to go, who's leaving the club? Pogba or Mourinho?
Well, that's easy for me.
Okay.
Pogba.
Okay.
Pogba. I'll tell you why. Mourinho has always shown a desire and a passion to do well at this club.
Yeah.
Always. Now, he says some things, some games haven't gone our way, some of the football hasn't been amazing, but you know that he wants it, and he's shown that passion so many times. I've seen it in flashes from Pogba, but it just seems like recently he's not interested.
Yeah,
I think if he hadn't been playing so poorly, and more importantly, looking so disinterested, then that might have been a harder decision to make. But right at this moment in time, that's quite an easy one, for me at least.
Yeah.
Because there's plenty of top-class midfielders out there. I mean, I read something in the paper today. Now, it's all paper talk. I brush it off. Take it with a pinch of salt.
Yeah.
But there was a report in the paper to say that Pogba could go in the summer, and he might well go in the summer. I hope he doesn't, but he might. And there was talk about Saul Niguez being his replacement. Now, we all know how fantastic a player Saul Niguez is. Now, I mean, the point I'm trying to make here is that there are several world-class midfielders out there.
Yeah.
There's only one Mourinho and very few top managers.
Yeah. I think that is the swaying factor for me. I think you've hit the nail on the head with a lot of your points there. Mainly, I think the Pogba attitude problem that I think he does suffer from time to time. And also, again, that one coupled with the sort of who else is there out there, elite level manager. No one really. And for that reason, again, it was a tough one because I rate Pogba so highly. I think on his day he's one of the best in the world. But for me, at this time, exactly the same as you, it would be Mourinho to stay for me, just because of everything, of attitudes. And there's so many other footballers out there and midfielders out there who are, I won't say capable of the level of Pogba. We don't know. He could regress. He could get better. Who knows? But yeah, I think for me, Mourinho stays over Pogba at this moment in time.
Fair enough.
Okie dokie. Next then, Robin Kenstrom at Arcade Doom. Hello, Robin. He says, doesn't it kind of feel like our season is over? I find no excitement in our games since we went out of the Champions League. I still watch, but I fail to care much.
That's a good question. Now, when we lost that game against Sevilla, shortly afterwards, I was just thinking, Christ, can this season just be over now?
Yeah.
We're not going to win the league. We're out of the Champions League. Those are the two big ones that we really want to be challenging for.
Yeah.
Okay, we're still in the FA Cup. No, at the time I was just thinking, oh, can this season just be over now? But I don't feel like that anymore. Especially after the recent comments made by Mourinho, particularly after that Brighton game.
Yeah.
It's quite clear what he wants. And if he can get that reaction out of his players, because he didn't hold back, did he?
No, he didn't.
And he's doing it because he wants a reaction. He's played the nice approach. He's played the play it down, protect the players approach. It clearly hasn't worked. So he's gone gung ho. Yeah. I'm hoping. I'm actually quite excited now for the last bit of the season, because you just think to yourself, it can't get much worse, but it could get much worse. But let's hope it doesn't. But there's vast improvements that can be made. There's players there that want to prove a point. So I'm actually quite excited for the rest of the season. I've got an interesting battle now for second, because it's not. We had a bit of a gap, didn't we?
Yeah.
We lost a few points, and the chasing pack caught up with us. There's going to be quite an interesting finish to the season, a nail-biting one.
Yeah.
So I'm quite looking forward to it. I've not lost any sort of passion. I still care. But no, I do get what you're saying, Robin. I did feel a little bit like that after the Sevilla game, but as time's gone on, I've gotten over that. I've sort of, excited again.
Yeah. Yeah, I think at times I sort of reflected your sentiment, Robin. There has been times this season when I've had multiple things on. I've had either my phone out or my laptop out at the same time as the game's on, and sometimes I don't look at the game for 4 or 5 minutes. Yeah, I get that. For me though, I'm still there. I'm still excited. I'm excited to see what comes. Obviously, we still got the FA Cup. That could be a possibility of winning a trophy, although it's not going to be a walk in the park. And yeah, I'm excited. And what I really want to get excited for, although I don't know if I will, that if Mourinho continues on this ruthless streak that he seems to be developing into now, I'm really interested to see who else, if anyone from maybe the academy or the youngsters, maybe any of them, get a few games, get some game time, just to make a point to the senior members of the squad who are maybe not pulling their weight. And I'd love to see, some youngsters get some game time. And, for me, if that happened, that would be something that I really get excited for, because I love seeing the youngsters coming through and blooded into the team. But yeah, I think everyone, shares your thoughts on the Champions League exit. I think everyone's sort of felt the same, especially with the manner that we did it as well. But no, I'm still looking forward to it. I'm still excited every game day. Like, for instance, now I can't wait for the football to be back, and I feel like I lost an arm this weekend. So yeah, get the football back and get back into it. Lovely. Oh, next then, JJ at Joe's Japan 1978. This is an interesting one. Would like to know your transfer signings for this summer. If the net spend budget is 150 million euros, I think we're going to need a calculator. Not more than that. Guess all the deadwoods. Average selling price will be 15 to 20 million per player. So please let me know, Paul and Ash. So if our net spends 150 mil, who are we buying?
Ooh, you know how I feel about talking about transfers when the transfer windows are a long way off. So the way I'm going to answer that question is not by naming players who I'd want to see come into the team, because I'm not a scout. I don't watch Spanish football. I don't watch Italian football. I don't watch German football, French football, anything like that. So I don't know how good these people are. I only go by what I hear. Yeah. So it would be pretty silly of me to say, I want this player if I've never watched him play before. So instead, I'll go by position.
Yeah.
So I think we need 2 top-class midfielders.
Yep, I agree.
Because Fellaini's going to be gone. Fingers crossed. Carrick's going to be gone. He's going to be coaching next year. So that's 2 gone straight away. So we need to bring 2 in. I don't think Herrera is the type of player that could be considered top class throughout the whole season.
No.
I think he'll be a good squad player. I think he would be happy to stay at United, doing his bit as a squad player as well. I really do. He loves the club.
Yeah.
So I do think we need 2 top-class midfielders. So a lot of money could be spent there. I think that's the priority. So if we're having to spend 120 million straight away just on 2 midfielders, then so be it. Probably won't be that much, but you never know. It could be. Because that Milankovic-Savic, if we go for him, he's probably going to cost upwards of 80 million.
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah, 2 midfielders. Another problem area, I think, is going to be one, or if not both, of the fullback positions.
Yep.
I think we might need to spend big in one of those areas. And when you look at the team attacking-wise, our left-hand side is sort of flooded with talent.
Yep.
In terms of Martial, Rashford, Sanchez. They can all play on that left-hand side. So I think if there is a budget, we're only going to be to buy a certain amount of players. Play to your strength. If you've got a good left side attack in, get a good left back in there to accompany them, to complement them. If Luke Shaw can't pull something out of the bag this last bit of the season, then the left back should be a priority.
Yeah.
And then depending on what the funds are like then, a right-sided attacker. But again, that might not come cheap either.
No.
You know what I mean? So if we're only going to bring 3 top-class players in, like we have done in the last couple of seasons, 3 top-class, a couple of unheard-ofs maybe, because let's face it, Bailly and Lindelof were unheard of.
Yeah.
You know? If we're going to go for 3 priorities, it's got to be 2 midfielders and a left-back for me this season.
Yeah, that's sort of reflected. If it was 3, it'd probably be 2 centre mids and a left back. Alex Sandro's name's been.
People might say right back because obviously Valencia's getting on.
Yeah,
the right back could actually be a good option. Valencia's getting on a bit. If Luke Shaw does stay in the summer, you know, you never know. You might turn it around. You might do well next season. Right back or left back. Then let's go that right back or left back, and then 2 midfielders.
Yeah, I mean, we need to replace both fullbacks in my opinion. But I'm hoping anyway the likes of Timbo coming back, maybe Tuanzebe as well. They've both been known to play at right back at times. Especially Timbo. I'm hoping that he does get some game time because we know he's got the talent, he's got the ability. I'm hoping he gets some game time. That's why I prioritise left back over him a little bit because apart from Luke Shaw and Ashley Young, there's no one really in and around any of the squad, not even the youth setup that's really sort of threatening to push through. So left back for me would be definite priority. I think Alex Sandro's name has been thrown around quite a lot today. I've seen it for around, I think, £60 million. Yeah. Is the fee that's been touted. So, but again, paper talk's probably a little rubbish. And then 2 centre mids again, and pick out of a hat, isn't it? With the names we're linked to everyone and everyone really. You know, Kermit the Frog, Big Bird, they could come up next week, and we'll probably be linked to him. You know, your Milinkovic-Savic, your Jean Cerise, whoever you want. But yeah, I think that's a massive priority. 2 centre mids is a must, in my opinion, especially with, you know, we're looking at selling quite a lot of the squad as well. I say quite a lot, we'll probably only sell a couple, but if we're up to me, I'd be selling quite a few. But yeah, so yeah, if 150 mil, so I think we've around, you know, got that up, JJ. I think we're going to go for 2 centre mids and a left back. So yeah, thanking you. Mr. Southwick, Andrew. What changes, if anything, would you make to the current regular starting 11?
Well, do we actually have a current regular starting 11? I mean, Matic and McTominay have both been starting fairly consistently recently.
Yeah.
I would bring Herrera in. I'd go back to the 4-3-3 and stick Pogba in. Yeah. See how he gets on. Other than that, Mata as well. I would continue to put Mata on the right-hand side instead of Lingard for now. Apart from that, there's not really anything else.
Chris Smalling. Oh, I got a cough. You know that was coming with me, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, I rate him. I rate him. Not massively highly, but you know he's solid. He's
done better. I'll give him that. He has done better. But I say this every season. He has flashes, but you know, recently he has done a lot better. He's made less mistakes. He's looked a bit less like Bambi on ice when he's got the ball at his feet. But I'd play Marcus Rojo instead, but that's just me. I think that would be maybe one of the only changes. Again, like you, I'd revert to the 4-3-3 and get Pogba in there, maybe alongside Matic and Herrera, and do that consistently. You know, we haven't seen that too consistently this season. I think that's a big part of our problem, that we've not kept a consistent 11. Obviously, not all down to the manager. We've had injuries and things as well. And it's a bit of an odd one with the front line, because we've got such a mix and match front line with, your Sanchez, Martial, Rashford, Lingard, Mata, all of them. So I'd like to see Sanchez play, obviously, because he's bags of talent, he's proven. And then take your pick, really, Martial or Rashford. Swap them around, do whatever you want, and get the best out of them. So that's what I do, Andrew. Last one then, Alex O'Donnell. He says, Antonio Valencia has been at United longer than any other player in the side, having joined in the 09-10 season. Who do you think will be at United in, say, 3 seasons' time? So who's here for the long run? Not an easy question, but interested to hear your opinion. Reckon I forgot Carrick. He was probably here longer, but you know what I mean. So, yeah. Who do you see here in 3 years? Who's definitely going to be staying, do you reckon?
Well, first of all, he is right. I think Carrick has been here just I think a year, maybe 2 years longer than Valencia. I think Carrick joined in 2007, 8.
Can't remember when he joined. Was he in the Champions League squad?
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Yeah. So it must have been earlier than that then.
Yeah, it's been over 10 years. I'm pretty sure.
That's it, because he's had his testimonial, hasn't he?
Yeah. So who do I think will be here in 3 years' time? Well, let's start from the back. David De Gea.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking. He'll be gone within 3 years.
He'll be gone by summer. Yeah.
Eric Bailly, definitely.
Yeah. Lindelof? Can't see him. Reckon he'll go?
I'm going to say yes to Lindelof. I still think he's going to come good. Let's go Bailly, Lindelof. I think those two will be here in 3 years' time. Lukaku.
Yeah, I hope so.
I think Rashford will be.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it?
Yeah, that's
McTominay?
Oh, Christ.
He will be up then. Yeah. He'll be Ballon d'Or winner.
It's because I was looking at the current 11 that I've gone with the Swanseas. I was looking at those players, thinking, which ones of those?
Got to be Fellaini, surely.
Oh, no, he'll be coming. But yeah, McTominay is another one, definitely. Yeah, so Bailly, Lindelof, McTominay, Lukaku, Rashford. I think there's still a decent chunk. Lingard will probably still be here in 3 years' time as a squad player.
Yeah.
I think there are quite a few players who will still be here in 3 years' time. I think it probably would have been easier to say who's not going to be. Just look at the players that are old.
Yeah, definitely.
Young, they won't be. Mata won't. Well, I don't know. Mata might be. He's only 29, isn't he?
He's my age. I think he's like a month older. No, a month younger than me. I think he is.
Might be. Probably not though, but he might. Depends how much game time he gets, I suppose.
Yeah.
Between now and the end of the season, he might decide he's had enough at the end of this season. He didn't look very happy when he came off against Brighton, I think it was.
Yeah, he didn't.
He didn't look very happy, did he?
No.
Normally he has a handshake and a hug with Mourinho when he comes off, but there was none of that. They didn't even look at each other. So, maybe that's something worth reading into in the next couple of games.
Yeah. Yeah, and pretty much the same, I think. I think McTominay will be there. Again, can't see, much as I love him, I can't see Dave going. He'll probably go and win some trophies, which he deserves, to be fair. Back, Lindelof, possibly. Bailly, I hope so. Lukaku, I definitely hope he stays. Definitely hope he's here in 3 years and smashing it. I think I'd like to see within 3 years. I'd like to see some of the youngsters in and around the first team squad. Your Angel Gomez's, maybe your Gribbins, your Chongs. I'd like to see some of them, even if they're squad players at that point. Gaining experience and chipping in with some performances. I'd like to see that. But apart from that,
I'd like to see Pogba there as well. But I think it's going to depend on how well we do in tournaments.
Yeah.
Because Pogba's that sort of player where he's going to want to play in the team that are winning trophies.
Yeah.
Now, he came to United to do that. He obviously came to United knowing it might be a couple of seasons. I mean, let's be honest. He has won a couple of trophies since he's been here. He's won the League Cup. He's won the Europa League.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He has won trophies, but he wants big ones. He wants the Premier League. He wants Champions League. So I think it depends on how well we do in those over the next year or two. Will dictate whether or not Paul Pogba stays, because he's not he's got no obligation to stay at United for the rest of his career.
No.
So I think it depends on how well we do. I think if we start challenging for titles, start getting to a final or a semi-final of the Champions League, then he might well be here in 3 years' time.
Yeah. Good. That's it.
Excellent. Let's wrap it up then.
Marvellous.
Anything else you want to add at all?
I don't think so. Just be glad to get the football back now.
Oh, yeah. God, yeah.
Be glad to get it back. Yeah. Good push for the end of the season.
Long weekend as well this weekend. Bank holiday.
Oh, yes.
So the week will finish quicker. Well, not for you. You're a farmer, so you'll be working today anyway.
What's the weekend?
So yeah, look forward to the football. Everyone listening, if you're watching this or listening to this on YouTube, you'll probably noticed that we've done this using a Google Hangout this week. Trying to find ways of doing a podcast where we can get other people involved, which doesn't require them to record their own audio, which we have been doing when we've had Andrew on, when we've had Matt on. Those guys are fantastic. We'll get them back on again soon. If any of you want to join us, just drop us an email via the website or drop us a tweet. We'll give out the Twitter details in a moment. But yeah, that's why it's different if you're listening on YouTube, is because we've done this via a Google Hangout.
Yep.
So hopefully this is going to work out well, and we can start getting people on via a Google Hangout, and it's just much better that way. Yeah, YouTube. Whilst I'm on the topic of YouTube, head over to VanCam in already. Kev Ashford, formerly of the United Stand. I don't know why I keep saying formerly of the United Stand. I think that's because that's where I know him from.
Yeah.
But that's where most people will know him from. But yeah, go and search VanCam on YouTube. He does an episode every Friday. It's absolutely hilarious. It's him in his van at work, recording himself talking about Man United. He does a segment called Fellaini Watch. He does a segment called Wanker of the Week. I'm not afraid to say it on the podcast. We swear enough now anyway.
Yeah.
He does a VanCam debate thing as well. Reads out all your comments and things like that. It's a good laugh. You should get over there and watch that. Subscribe and like the videos, comment, and all sorts. Get over there and do that. Subscribe, obviously, to our YouTube channel, Talking Manchester United podcast YouTube channel. Like and subscribe. Keep up to date. Stay alert whenever there's a video or podcast, let's say, goes up. Obviously, you can find the podcast in the usual places on your iTunes apps, your Android apps. We haven't come away from there just because we've gone onto YouTube. We can still be found everywhere else as well. Get involved. Tweet us. If there's something you've heard in the podcast that you disagree with, or you agree with, or you didn't think of it that way, and speak to us. Get involved. Comment on the YouTube video. Tweet us. So, Ash, do you want to give out your Twitter details?
Yeah, it's at AshBoyo, ASHBOIO. And yes, a thank you for those of you who did say peanut butter and Nutella last time, that you did stick with us right to the very end of that quite lengthy podcast that we put out last week. So yeah, thanks. Yeah, keep them coming. Keep your discussion points coming.
Yeah, I've forgotten about that. Longest podcast I've ever done.
Yeah, ever.
It's nice to know people who listen to the end. Yeah, you can follow myself on Twitter at Paul Gardiner LP. Follow the Talking Manchester United podcast accounts at United Stand Pod. Follow the main United Stand account if you're not already, at United Stand MUFC. I think that about covers everything. I don't think I'm forgetting anything. Am I, Ash? Is that everything?
Don't think so. Yeah, I think we've covered pretty much everything.
Brilliant. Well, let's wrap it up there then. So thank you all for listening. Like I said, get in touch with us. Talk to us. Let us know what you think. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week.